My husband cheated on me with my best friend. I thought our life together was perfect until I saw that picture. Now, everything has fallen apart. My name is Adeline, and this is how their betrayal shattered my world. My husband had an affair with my best friend. I'm divorcing him. Those words kept echoing in my head, a haunting refrain, a caustic truth that unraveled the very fabric of my life. My name is Adeline, and this is a story of how betrayal brought down my world, pushed me into the depths of despair, and finally put me on a journey of rediscovery, resilience, and freedom. Chapter 1: Happiness, All an Illusion. Life in Autumn Heights had always seemed like a fairy tale. My marriage to Wesley was to be the pinnacle of our aspirations, a union sustained by a platform of love, trust, and shared ambitions. We had weathered together some storms, celebrated our fair share of milestones, and managed to create a life that I thought could never be shattered. Our evenings were filled with laughter, our weekends spent exploring quaint cafes and indulging in the art of conversation. We were surrounded by friends Aaron, Tiago, and Brooks, who shared the same values and aspirations. One afternoon during this beautiful autumn, standing in the kitchen, I could feel the sun's warmth. The sun filtered through the window and came alive with the colors of the leaves outside. This was a preparation, as usual, for dinner, one of the most important precursors of social life. I chopped the vegetables and stirred the fragrant sauce on the stove as my heart swelled with anticipation. Tonight would be a unique opportunity to celebrate our friendships and love. It was one of those evenings that always worked like a perfect scene from a movie. Friends showed up, and laughter and chatter filled the air, coupled with the tempting aroma of the meal I had prepared. Autumn, my best friend since childhood, was the life of the party. Her infectious laughs resonated across the room. She and Wesley exchanged playful banter, and I felt my heart swell up with pride as I watched them. "Cheers to friendship and love," I toasted, glass raised. "Cheers," Wesley echoed, his eyes sparkling with joy. But as the night wore on, a nagging feeling seeped into my mind. Wesley had been working late more often, and his lingering gaze on Autumn seemed so charged with an unspoken tension. I brushed off my concerns, attributing them to the pressures of adulthood. I wanted to believe in our picture-perfect life. Chapter 2: The First Sign of Trouble. A week later, it all changed. I was scrolling along through social media when I saw a photo that dropped my heart into my stomach. There they were, Wesley and Autumn, arms around each other, beaming at some bar with laughter. My breath hitched in my throat as I replayed the image repeatedly in my mind. Sick. My senses overwhelmed with a feeling of disbelief. How could they do this to me? The next day, I confronted Autumn at our favorite cafe, the place where we shared numerous secrets and dreams. As I sat opposite her, the fresh aroma of brewed coffee wafted through the air, but I did not take note. My heart beat quickly because I wanted answers. My voice was emotionless. "Autumn, what is going on with you and Wesley?" My tone was sharp, desperate to speak clearly. Horrified, her eyes bulged and she stammered, "Adeline, I can explain." "Explain what? That you chose my husband over me." The words slipped out, cutting through the air like a dagger. "I never meant for it to happen," she pleaded, tears welling in her eyes. "It was a mistake." "A mistake?" I scorned, the anger boiling beneath the surface. "You think that justifies everything? You're my best friend. How could you betray me like this?" With betrayal hanging in the air, I felt the ground shift beneath my feet. It felt like a fragile thread of years snapping. I left the cafe, my heart heavy with disbelief and despair. Chapter 3: The Confrontation. When I got home, Wesley was waiting for me. His face was etched with concern. "What's wrong?" he asked, his voice laced with confusion and concern. "Autumn told me everything," I spat, tears streaming down my cheeks. His expression changed. Panic was written across his eyes. "Adeline, I can explain." "Explain what? That you had an affair with my best friend?" My voice shook, every word laced with betrayal. "I didn't mean to hurt you," he said, stepping closer. But I recoiled, unable to bear his presence. "Do you even understand the magnitude of what you have done?" I yelled, anger and hurt boiling over. "You destroyed our marriage, our friendship, everything we built together. We faced each other. the tension crackling in the air as the love that once was now had its battlefield marked by deception. I saw regret in his eyes, but that wasn't enough. The trust had been shattered, and I couldn't fathom rebuilding it. Chapter 4. The Decision to Leave. Days turned into an avalanche of hurt and anger. My friends, Maeve, Audrey, and Kennedy, kept me enveloped in love and support. "You deserve better, Adeline," Maeve said, her tone pure and soothing. "You're stronger than this." Their words wrapped around me like a warm embrace and kindled a fire inside. At this point, I didn't want to be the victim anymore. I wanted to take my story back. Then I met Axel, a lawyer who explained every step in the process with much kindness and patience. "I want a divorce," I told him one afternoon at his office, heart pounding with the decision of my life. Axel nodded reassuringly and smiled at me. "You are making the right decision, Adeline. We will protect you." As I started the legal process, I felt on an emotional roller coaster. Some days I'd feel angry, while others made me feel hollow and broken. I avoided Wesley, ignoring his attempts to reach out. His pain of betrayal was too raw and fresh. Chapter 5. The Fallout. The months dragged on, and the divorce was exhausting. Every time I had to see Axel, I knew my marriage was gone. We talked of money, the separation of property, and the wounds in our psyches that would take a long time to heal. Wesley didn't stop sending messages, apologies, and appeals for just one more chance, all so empty and insincere. My heaven was my friends, my sources of strength. My friends kept pushing me to continue releasing emotional energy through creative expression. I started painting again, a thing I had unconsciously set aside due to the chaos in my life. The canvas was my refuge, where I could channel my feelings into vibrant colors and bold strokes. One evening, I stood before my easel, pouring my heart into a piece that would expose the rawness of my emotions. Every stroke released my pain, frustration, and sadness onto the paper, molding them into something beautiful. The painting showed my journey to healing like a noisily colored flower blooming from a very dark trap. As the weeks passed, I grew stronger. I took extended walks through the park, letting the beauty of the trees and greenery soak into my being while refreshing my spirit with the crisp air. I began attending support groups where other women had experienced similar betrayals. Sharing our stories created a particular bond, and I felt empowered by the strength of our collective experiences. Chapter 6. Rediscovery. Day by day, I had grown into a rediscovery of myself. I cherished my independence. I joined some local art classes and found other creative people around me who inspired me. One of them was Tiago, a passionate photographer who focused on capturing every beautiful moment of life. We instantly clicked as 2 points connected at the heartbreak and persistence angle. "Art is healing," he said one evening while we shared tales over coffee. "It says what words can't." His words touched that deep part of my soul. Somehow I was absorbed by his passion and creativity. In the days we spent together, I felt a spark of hope that had been snuffed out in my heart and had begun to be reignited. Tiago asked me to join him on a photo shoot outing one afternoon. He and I walked along colorful city streets and framed candid moments of life in his camera. Every click of his camera lightened my heart, and our laughter echoed through the air as I felt joy for the first time since the betrayal. "Adeline, you look at things differently," he said as I framed a magnificent sunset. "You find beauty in places others overlook." His words reached deep in my heart, and for the first time in so long, I felt I was home. Our friendship blossomed into something more: joy, laughter, and shared dreams between the two of us. Still, demons from my past continued to haunt me, and my heart was not easy to open again. Chapter 7. A new chapter. The change of season brought about a change in me. My house became a haven. Paintings of different colors reflected the spirit awakening inside me. I became independent, attending events and joining the art fraternity. The exhibition that displayed my paintings was to take place shortly at the local gallery. I entered the exhibition. This was another way to share my journey. Finally, the night of the exhibition had arrived, and the excitement was palpable in the air. Setting up my paintings, I was nervous but exhilarated all at the same time. Would people connect with my art? Would they see pain and triumph woven into each piece? The evening had an electric atmosphere unfolding. Friends and family, complete strangers, fell in love with the work on display, oohing and aahing. I proudly shared stories behind each painting about how this art had been my lifeline during those dark moments. Then I saw Wesley across the room. My heart was pounding as feelings rushed through my very soul. He seemed different, worn, and looked regretful as he approached me. "Adeline, I'm so sorry for everything," he said, his voice shaking. I took a deep breath, trying to brace myself from the hurricane of emotions that swirled within me. "Wesley, I appreciate the apology, but I am not that person anymore, grown to stand on my 2 feet." His eyes watered as he reached out, but I stepped back, not wanting to get pulled under again. "I wish you the best, but I must move forward." Chapter 8: The Turning Point. In the following weeks after the exhibition, I continued to grow. I put my heart into my art and my newfound independence. Still, the feelings that had remained at bay toward Thiago began to creep to the forefront. We spent more time in each other's company, and our connection grew more assertive. On one of those nights, taking a walk through the park under the cover of stars, the spark of possibility flared within me with a tug of attraction toward him. "Adeline," he said, in that soft, searching tone that made his eyes lock with mine, "I want you to know that I think you are one of the strongest women I have ever met. You inspire me day in and day out." My heart fluttered at his words. "Thank you, Thiago. You have been a light in my life." In the twinkling of the stars, I finally took that chance and leaned in closer to him. Our lips touched in the softest kiss, a fire in me that for ages had been smothered. It was one of those moments when I surrendered, promising not to let my past hold me back from the promise of the future. But by drawing closer, a shadow fell, the doubt that I could give a new love all it deserved. The betraying cuts were too fresh, and I was scared of perhaps repeating the same mistake. Chapter 9: Emotional Collision. I had just started to embrace this new era in life, and the universe came again with one last curveball. One evening, I suddenly received an unexpected call from Autumn. "Adeline, can we talk? I need to explain." Her voice sent a jolt of anxiety through me. I hadn't talked to her since the confrontation, and facing her was wounding my feelings, but I knew I had to face up to the past if I was going to move on. We met at a small cafe, the same place where we had shared so many memories. Now, seated in front of her, with all that tension in the air, my heart was racing. "What is it you want to say?" I asked, trying not to show how jumpy I had suddenly become. "I've spent months thinking about what I did, and I'm really sorry," she started, clearly with great regret in her eyes. "I never set out to hurt you. I let my feelings get in the way, which I regret daily." I watched her for sincerity. "You broke my trust, Autumn. It wasn't just about Wesley. It was about our friendship." She said, "I know, but I want you to know I've changed. I've been working on myself, and I miss our friendship." The sincerity in her words struck a chord deep within my core. I'd been so focused on the betrayal that I hadn't considered forgiveness. "It's going to take time for me to trust you again," I replied slowly, "but I'm open to healing." Chapter 10: Healing and Closure. As the weeks passed, I found myself treading that fragile path of forgiveness. Autumn and I started rebuilding her friendship again, piece by piece, with much caution. We would attend art shows together, reminiscing about old times, our eyes catching the pain that lay between us. During this emotional turmoil, my relationship with Thiago blossomed. His patience and understanding gave me space to heal. We conjured new memories through photography, snapshots reflecting this connection's beauty. One day, we were standing on the rooftop looking out over the city when I turned to him with complete gratitude. "Thank you for being here for me," I said, my heart swollen. "You've given me hope that love can still exist even after heartbreak." He smiled, his eyes sparkling with all their warmth. "You deserve all the love and happiness in the world, Adeline. I want to be there for you through it all." Every new day brought a change in me. The pain of my past began slowly to turn stale, and I felt a sense of power within myself. Slowly and indeed, the feeling that I wasn't the victim of that betrayal, but the result of all my resilience and will to live life fully, came to the forefront. Chapter 11: A New Beginning. Months later, standing in front of my easel, I was preparing for the next exhibition, which culminated my journey from heartbreak to healing. The paintings displayed an evolution of emotions, a visual narrative of resilience and strength. Then came the night of the exhibition when the colors on the canvas seemed to dance with color, and I felt a sense of completion overwhelming my heart Friends, family, and fellow artists were in the gallery, and the enthusiasm was just there. I mingled with the guests, and then, out of nowhere, I saw Wesley in the crowd. My heart was racing, but this time, it wasn't out of fear. It reminded me how far I had come, that I had taken back my power, and that his presence no longer held me captive. And that night, the feeling of indebtedness to that journey overwhelmed me. I was no longer the woman shattered by a betrayal. She had emerged as a force and creative. Chapter 12. Receiving Love Once Again. The night ended with Tiago by my side, and as we stood under a starry night sky, I felt a surge of hope for the future for the first time in a while. "Adeline, I want you to know that I'm here for you, no matter what," he said steadily and sincerely. I swung to him, and my heart went running. "I was afraid to let go of the past," I said, words hanging from my lips in vulnerability. "But I'm ready to embark on this new beginning with you." Standing together, open-hearted to the possibilities of love, I knew at that moment how I had grown into another person. I was no longer defined by those shadows of betrayal. I was a clothed artist, a survivor, a woman ready to welcome life's beauty. With Tiago's hand in mine, I stepped forward and walked into my life ahead. I was ready to begin a new chapter in my life, filled with the beauty of love, art, and endless possibilities.